Hey guys, Dark Humility here. You can always catch me at www.twitch.tv/Dark Humility, usually 7 days a week. Today, guys, we have an awesome build guide for you, comprehensive guide with all the LOD farming areas, the maps, the skills, the stats, and the gear. We have a Meteor Sorc. Yeah, you heard that right, Meteor Sorc. In Project Diablo 2, they made a Meteor Sorc pretty pog champ. It's fires a lot faster. The rate of fire is crazy. The cooldown is much shorter. So you can just blast this on enemies, and it still does enormous damage. It still has enormous damage output. Today, that's what we're going to be going over here on my Hardcore Project Diablo 2 Season 2 Meteor Sorc on the live servers. Alright, to begin, let's start with the areas that are going to be solid in Act 1, and then we're going to work our way all the way up through all the LOD areas once again, and then we're going to do maps, and then the stats, skills, and gear, of course, at the end. As I play the character, I'm going to kind of go over what we want to do here. So we want a bow like normal. We got 1 point energy shield. I put on shiver armor as well. It's going to get all of our defensive stats very high. Now you might think a fire build on the pit, that's probably not that good of an idea, right? Aren't those devilkins fire immune? Yes, they are, Dark Humility. They are fire immune. However, you might notice that I'm still one-shotting them anyway. Why? Because Meteor does a pretty significant amount of physical damage. It's not really enough to kill monsters that are fire immune in maps because they have pretty high HP pools. For the lower HP pools of everything else, such as in the pit, it actually works really well. And you can just use the Meteor Sorc in here. Combustion Sorc wouldn't be good in here because you can't kill the devilkins, but Meteor is a bit different. So feel free to go messing around with your Meteor Sorc in here if you want. If you have Enigma, you can press that NOS button, use your second teleport to go even faster, to circumvent that damage penalty. You might notice if I'm using Enigma teleport, there's a damage penalty. Use this teleport, there's not a damage penalty. That damage penalty applies to the moment you cast the skill, not when the skill lands. So it will affect your Meteor, which I'll explain when I start mapping. Yeah, Meteor Sorc is insanely strong, as you can see here. The damage is just crazy. You never really have to worry about it one-shotting anything. In bosses, it just takes out effortlessly. So the pit is, one of the max level areas in LOD. Very solid area for the Meteor Sorc. Pit's always going to be a great choice. Of course, there's other areas we can do. I'm going to do the secret cow level just to show you how much of a cow destroyer she is. She destroys the cows as well. Let's go, Demonius. How you doing? Exclamation guide. That's right. My channel. You can get access to all the guide commands from my YouTube by typing that there. Get it. What's up, Kelthurin? How you doing? What's up, KO? We are back.
Yes.
We are back. I had to go somewhere, but we're back making this guide now. Or the Meteor Sorceress. Ooh. Light res too low. Okay, anyway. I will, but I'm not going to be going over it just yet. The gear will be at the end of the guide, so you're going to have to wait a bit to get to that. We've got to do all the demos and explanations of strong areas first. And there'll also be a list of tiers for maps, so all the maps in the game will be tiered for her in order in the description and in the pinned comment below as well. Alright, so let's make the secret cow level portal. Now, the normal secret cow level is a joke compared to Blood Moon, which is also one of her better maps. But you can see, especially if I use Enigma teleport here to circumvent that damage penalty. That's very strong. Remember, you can also view the stats of my character on the screen, which are above the potions in the XP bar there. we'll go over all that stuff, of course, when we go over the stats, but in general, she destroys cows. Very good cow farmer. Even without good gear, by the way, LOD is pretty easy to farm, so it's a good idea. Swadish! Swadish. Wow. Another Xanon attack coming in strong. Let's go. Alright, guys. Swadlish. Launch a Xanon attack on the channel. Let's spam those eyes of Xanon and attack for Swadlish. Xanon has launched an attack. Let's go. How you doing, Swadlish? What's up, man? Alright, so as you can see, the Meteor Sorc will flatten LOD content. And I think it really becomes apparent how high my damage is when I start flattening some bosses. So, Sorceress, especially this one, is a very accomplished boss farmer. So we're going to go over some boss farms with her, of course. And it's pretty nasty. Since she's a Sorceress, she's also decent at key farming, but since it's fire damage, it's not necessarily the best. We'll go over all kinds of farming you can do with this character, though, just to kind of show you guys what's possible, and then we'll go over 3 best maps, do some farming in those. And then, of course, we're going to go over all the rest of it at the end, once again. I am back! I know! Normally I don't leave in the middle like that. Hey, what's up, Swaddlish? Represent Hardcore PD2? Hell yeah, let's go. Did 2 giveaway was amazing and you're off? Sweet. Yeah, tomorrow I'm doing Slamfest and we are going to have a ton of prizes, ton of guesses, ton of slams. It's going to be awesome. 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. Free advertisement for my own event. Let's go. Actually, I already made one. I am not the only good streamer out there, but thank you, sir. What's up, The Fly? How you doing? Oh, thank you, sir. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We are doing a Meteor Sorc guide at the moment, which is not a build you might be used to, but it's pretty sick. Of course, tomorrow we're doing Slamfest. We're not playing any builds tomorrow, but that's okay. Sunday, of course, we're making new characters. Do another 8-man push. This time I'll play with the Druid. Alright. So as you can see, she's very good at cow farming. Teleport damage penalty on PD2 can be brutal though, which is why I use Enigma, but I'll explain that in the gear section as well. In general though, just make sure to keep your bow up, your shiver armor, and your energy shield up, and you're usually going to be good to go. At least on hardcore. I don't want to die to any random high damage range monsters with auras, or just accidentally making accidental key press, or having Oculus teleport you into a random pack and kill you. We'll explain, of course, what our goals are with the Hardcore Meteor Sorc is soon. We'll also explain the softcore alternatives as well, so even if you're playing softcore, you can definitely learn a lot here. Alright, so as you can see, she destroys cows. Since she's a sorceress, she's good at the teleport key farming areas, which, as I mentioned in my Zealer video, are not quite as efficient, in my opinion, as the non-teleport key farm areas. They're pretty good, though. And if you get lucky with a nice tower find like that, you're going to be good to go. Remember, the tower is going to be close to the walls of the Black Marsh somewhere. And then these entrance tiles here, this one's pointing this way, so that means the exit's going to be to the west, or a west-facing or left-facing tile. So in this case, it's just this way, and then it's west of this, so it's this way. That's how the tower works always. That's good. So as you can see, it's pretty efficient, right? And as long as she doesn't have a fire enchanted, you can kill her in one shot. Of course, the mercenary can pop her even if she does have fire immunity. I think you can break it with Infinity as well, so Fire is a very good choice for key farming. Cold is usually the bad one because Nilothox minions are immune to cold, and it's kind of hard to get some extra kills there, unless you're just targeting him and you want to avoid his corpse explosion. But it's also bad for Countess because all of her minions are immune to cold. Unless you have an insanely powerful mercenary, that one's going to be a bit challenging. This is something, though, even without gear at all. Like, Cows is pretty good without gear, of course, in Hell, and of course, this is probably one of the most absurd fights you'll ever see against Andariel here. Meteor Sorc makes this look like a joke, and if you get any gear remotely close to this, it's just insane. Without this gear level, it won't be quite as much of a joke, but you can kind of tell just how much of a joke it will be once you have, even without gear, to be honest. Alright. So, Andariel's always a good farm. Boss farms on Sorceresses, key farms, in addition to those 85 areas like the pit. You can see here, I'm just going to plop down a meteor on her. Almost takes away all her health, and then boom. Dead. Of course, could have done that faster, but as you can see, Andariel just gets destroyed. I think I could one-shot her if I hit her directly, but I have to hit her directly the first time. And since I didn't, I hit her a little bit on the side. I can't actually one-shot her there. But, you know, she also drops these respect token essences, which is always nice. Just in all of her awesome loot table. So much damage, I know. It's really crazy. Once you get the damage really high in Meteor, it really makes a lot of things look like a joke. Alright, so that's pretty much it for Act 1. She definitely has a lot of cool farms you can do in Act 1 with a Meteor Sorceress. Act 2, though, has a bunch of other ones as well. I think the ones that most come to mind, though, are Maggot Lair and Summoner for key farming, at least with this character. One thing to note about the Maggot Lair is that it's an 85 area in PD2, so that means it's equal to the pit in terms of its capability to drop items. What's up, Pterodactyl? How you doing? And it has no fire immunes, so for a fire character, it's pretty nice. When you don't have a lot of good gear, when you're just trying to farm for your initial gear, this is a great spot to stop off. Just make sure you have your resistances, because those beetles can be nasty. Hardcore, you definitely want to make sure your resistances are as close to max as often as possible, especially in Hell mode. My character's decked out though, so she's so strong that dying to these LOD areas in Players 1 is not likely. Can't say impossible, but it's pretty unlikely. No, Infinity is not good on a poison necro. Infinity doesn't affect poison damage, it only affects fire, cold, and lightning. So not only can it not break poison immunity, but it can't lower their res to it either. So it's not going to be any good. Unless you're playing LOD. Now if you play LOD, Infinity is really good on a poison necro, but not because of poison nova, but because of corpse explosion. It's fire damage on it. I don't know, Fark. You know, I really want it to come down to Earth because I kind of want to buy one, but this is like the worst time ever, so I'm gonna wait. Let's hope I can get by with what we currently have. And, you know, I feel like it's a bit of a bad investment right now because of where it's at, but hopefully those prices come down. Yeah, it's not a good time to build a computer. I mean, it might even be a good time to buy a pre-built one because it actually might be like more effective. So even when you do get a fire immune elite, which is rare, it needs like magic resistance and fire enchanted on it. The meteor still does physical damage, so you really don't have to worry about, in any of these LOD areas I'm going to show you, you don't have to worry about the fire immunity at all. And you can still do areas like Chaos, it's just going to take a while because of the physical damage. You're not going to want to do it on this character. Let's see. Years! Yes, they did shorten the casting time of the meteors, so I explained that in the beginning. The fire rate is faster, so the length of time between when you cast it and it falls. Also, the cooldown is much shorter, which is why meteor is actually something you can do in PD2. It's extremely strong. As a reminder, I rated this build an A tier build in my tier list video, and with good reason. It's a strong build. Really and truly, its only weakness is that there is still at least some delay. But when you have your mercenary out in front of you, and it's not that big of a deal. So on Castellet still. Castellet vanilla is so large though, it's almost comical. You would never want to go a pure Meteor Sorc unless you're trying to farm very specific things. The pure Meteor Sorc is actually decent in vanilla for like farming Baal. In like an 8-man group or something, but that's about it. But that's the only time we're gonna get enough like time for the meteor to actually fall and destroy the enemies. What's up, Boniface? How you doing? So as you can see, the Maggot Lair is a great spot for the Meteor Sorceress in the vanilla LOD areas. So you could do Ancient Tunnels, but those infidels actually have decent HP and they're fire immune. Infinity breaks it, but I don't really see it as being necessarily the best spot. I think Maggot Lair is going to be a better choice actually for this character in PD2. It's decent though. It's decent. Another very solid area though for any fire character though in Act 2. Also cold characters is the Stony Tomb. Stony Tomb is now an 85 area in PD2 as well. Stony Tomb is definitely one of the better farms on the Meteor Sorceress. Especially considering you have teleport, you can get to these areas pretty easily, so it's almost, even without crazy good gear, the Sorceress still has easier access to some of these juicy 85 areas. Right, here we go. See if we find any GGs while we do this. Maybe we get some good... I always tend to find like one really good item when I make a video, so we'll see what happens. I found a Ming Song's lesson yesterday. Yesterday was insane. I found a Ming Song's lesson. Earlier today I found an Hellslayer. I found a Jaw, 2 Sirs, a Vex, a Gull, and 2 Mouths mapping yesterday for about, I don't know, 7 hours. So this is no joke of a build. Like, it's capable of a lot. I mean, obviously that was good RNG, but it's capable of a lot. No. Hello? Is there actually a glitch where you can't enter the Stony Tomb too? I think I heard of this glitch actually. There is. You know, this normally doesn't happen, but this is an interesting thing to capture on video here. Well, anyway, you get the idea. Basically, no fire immunes in here. You can just wreck everything. Lots of elites. It's pretty nice and compact. All right. Well, the game's like, nope, you're not going in there. You know, I've heard of that glitch actually. I've never actually seen it though. I wonder how that actually happens. I wonder if that's a vanilla thing too. No idea. All right. Anyway, summoner farming. So yeah, you could do Ancient Tunnels as long as you have Infinity and really strong Meteor. But it's probably not ideal, so we're not going to show it off. Alright. So Summoner is... There's no way to tell where the Summoner is. Literally just have to find him. He's the master of the H key. Countess has the Key of Terror for teleport. For teleport characters, this is the H key. Of course, you may as well kill some ghosts on your way. If you see any nice giant packs of ghosts, I recommend plopping down some meteors because they have amazing loot tables for runes, charms, gems, jewels, and otherwise. And honestly, I was kind of surprised when I tested it last night. It's not terrible at farming the ghosts and arcane as well. There are better sorceress builds, I think, for that, but it's not bad. Like, the delay is actually so small in the Meteor cast, you can actually do it. Okay. Ah! Now with Infinity, you'll notice I'm also killing these dudes in one shot. They're fire immune, so it's pretty impressive, right? Like, Meteor does an insane amount of damage. It's, it cannot be overlooked. Nice Boniface, how you doing? That's, yeah, that's, it's pretty funny, but that's exactly what's going on, Fark, and that's what I'm using to hold the line at the moment. I'm hoping the supply will increase at some point. It's really hard to buy GPUs right now without, like, I don't know, insanely large investment. It's pretty hard. We gotta spend all that COVID money. I don't know. See, we'll see if it becomes necessary. If Resurrected is still running poorly, even after they like run the other ones, oh man, probably gonna have to upgrade it for sure. All right, well we got 4-weight. That's lame. Anyway, there he is. He drops the H key. He didn't this time, but that's okay. Alright, so that's about it for Act 2, really, for the Meteor Sorc, in terms of solid farming areas. We are a Sorceress, so, you know, on every build guide I'm going to go over this. Any build that can charge around or run around very quickly can always do the LK clickable power farm, even without static maps like on single player, where you can save a perfect map for super chest farming. These random clickables cannot be underestimated. I have found burrs, puzzle boxes, runes. I've actually found almost every high rune, I think, from them up to burr, which is the maximum. So, and I haven't done like a ton of farming like these last 2 seasons, which tells me it's pretty strong. If you're willing to do some like mind-numbing telekinesis sorceress farming in here, just pop the clickables. Always a solid choice for any sorceress. And since most of the monsters in here are lightning immune, you're probably fine as a fire character. Cold would be even better, but that's okay. Okay for life! That's right. Let's go. Yeah, you can get high runes, you can get, as long as they're not the super chests, you can even get items like Mars, potentially. They also drop tons of charms, jewels, gems, jewelry, and otherwise, just like the ghosts. Clickables can also drop Worldstone shards and puzzle boxes at a good rate as well, just like ghosts. And cows, to a little bit. Cows have slightly elevated drop rates there as well. Make sure to farm them. Get them all. Okay. Alright, well, everyone loves a good clickable farm. It's pretty good. I think we're good there. Why not telekinesis level 2? I don't know. Did I not telekinesis the portal? No idea. Alright, anyway. Now, pretty much the only other thing I would do in Act 3, because Travancore has fire immunes. Travancore is going to be a little tougher because sometimes you can get actually, Ismail can be dual physical and fire immune, so I wouldn't run Travancore on a Meteor Sorceress. That's something I'd probably save for your cold sorceresses like Ice Barrage, Frozen Orb, or Frost Nova once you get the gear for it. Alright. Next up is Mephisto. Mephisto, another boss melting demo here. He melts just like Andariel. Maybe not quite as hard as Andariel, but almost. I can 2-meter Mephisto. Let's see if I can line him up so I can show you guys the crazy damage here. Yeah, it's pretty bonkers, really. Alright. So yeah, as you can see here, This destroys the council members as well. Bam and bam. There you go. Mephisto is down for the count. It means if you stack a Meph on a Meteor Sorceress, this makes her an excellent Mephisto farmer, and Mephisto's loot table is even better than Andariel's by quite a bit. You can drop all kinds of items like Arachnid's Mess and Shaco you cannot find off of Andariel, or items like Drax, Storm Shield. You get the idea. You know, oh yeah, wait, Shaco, wait, Andy can drop Shaco. Did I say Shaco? No, Andy can drop Shaco. Storm Shield, Drax, Arachnid's Mesh, things like that. Okay, anyway, there's definitely a lot of items Mephisto can drop. Mars as well. Andy cannot, and this character destroys Mephisto. So I highly recommend stacking MF on a Meteor Sorc and go boss farming, because that is really, really effective on this character. Like, that's definitely one of the best things you can do, especially when you're just trying to gear up. What's up, Wraith? How you doing? Oof, 2 shots. That's right, man. Got Verdungos. Ooh, nice, man. Rip pocket. Rip. Yep. It's not there. As a fire damage build, I'm going to be pretty frank here. There's a lot of nasty mobs in Act 4 for this character in general. Unless you're willing to, like, snipe Izual or do something similar to that, or just accept that you're not going to be able to kill all the mobs very quickly. Pit Lords are immune to fire. Doom Knights are immune to fire. Yeah, fire characters, even with the physical damage the Meteor has, it's not really worth it. It's not going to be very efficient. I don't recommend farming any Chaos or River or any of those Act 4 areas with the Meteor Sorceress, but you can do it if you want. GG. Alright, anyway. Alright, now we're in Act 5, so let's get it. Get the other ones. And bam. So unless he's usually not immune to fire, but Eldritch and Shenk is amazing on this character. Literally just plop down a meteor and they're dead. Even without all the plus skills I have on this gear, you would still kill them in one shot in a lot of cases. So just plop down a meteor and they're toast. It's really effective because usually they're cold immune, so it's good for a fire character. Also, these are usually poison immune, so Pindle skin also has an amazing loot table. It can drop almost any item in the game. Also check him out. With 1 or 2 meteors, he's also down depending on his immunity. Even though I said not to do any like normal farming in Act 4, at this point maybe I should show you guys Izual. You can do Izual, but the problem with Izual is you gotta make sure to have like T-gods for souls if there are souls. Now notice that I can kill them in 1 hit with the meteor, but that's what you really want there. So wow, we got lucky. Izual was right next to the entrance. That's pretty uncommon. Normally Nilithok's gonna be faster, but if you get lucky there, farming D keys off of Nilithok is really good on any sorceress. And since there's mostly lightning immunes in here, and if your meteor is strong enough, you can still kill the fire immunes with your physical damage unless they're Venom Lords. You can be okay as long as you dodge and weave. So Fire Sorceress, this is probably the best thing you're ever going to be able to do in Act 4 is mess around in Plains of Despair and kill Izual. So, and we got a key, so he dropped the D key. Remember, the non-teleport area is Nilithok, but the teleport area is Izual's for D keys. And keys sell for a lot, so key farming is really nice on your Sorceress. Uber running is a bit tougher on a Sorceress, but the key farming is nice. Alright, so let's go. Yeah, you're gonna have to have conviction and the whole 9 yards even to be able to do it, and open wounds on the mercenary. It's a struggle for sure. Fire characters are amazing in ice caves. Drifter Cavern is now in 85 areas, so probably gonna want to show that one up next. Drifter Cavern's also not insanely dangerous. Beware of the charter zombies in here though. I'm in hardcore. So make sure you have a lot of DR and preferably max block and, well, energy shield especially. Energy shield's really effective against charger zombies. These charger zombies though are very dangerous. Kill you very fast. Yeah, it's effective though. It's effective. It's all effective. I have DR, I've got energy shield, I have max block. They're not going to kill me probably, but just keep in mind those are dangerous enemies to teleport through. Those reanimated hordes, as they're called in maps. Alright, so this area normally only has one fire immune. Ooh, Crown of Thieves, nice. You don't need it though. That's a pretty good drop though. And it doesn't spawn with that fire immune too often, so normally you can destroy it with the Meteor Sorc very well. If your cavern is once again located in the Glacial Trail, straight from the entrance tile from the warp. Izual could be anywhere in the Plains of Despair, by the way, so that was pretty lucky. That was very lucky for sure. You could do Thresh Socket, but he's often fire immune, so depends. I wouldn't do Thresh Socket. Pindle's much more reliable. You can do it if you want, especially if you get a good warp by him in single player. Alright, so that's another solid area on any fire character, I would say. Let's see. Yeah, you know, one thing I think that might demo for you guys is how much damage I do. This is actually kind of interesting. This is not a farm area, so this is just kind of a sneak peek before I start doing maps. Just how much damage this character really actually does. Wow, that's dangerous. That's just another reason you're going to want that energy shield and max block, right? Yeah, so before you have all that, teleporting through these areas is... I've seen lots of people die in sorceresses, so be very careful. No, don't think you're... I don't think you're an invincible god. On LOD it's easier because you teleport faster on a sorceress, but you're using lightning FCR frames on PD2, so it's definitely going to be a lot tougher. Are all of these areas like glitched or something? Maybe every single one of these areas in the game is glitched, actually. Huh. Well, that I'll be. I have no idea why that's happening. Yeah. Let me try re-entering the game here.
Salutation.
You got bug chat. What's going on? Infinity is really important for mapping on the trap sim, but if you don't need to map immediately, like, focus on getting the core build first. You can still destroy maps even without Infinity on a trap sim, so as long as you're using Death Sentry ZTG, so I wouldn't recommend it. Weapon swap? Do you think it might have been a weapon swap thing? Because I know that's what how charge bug works. I don't know, maybe. Maybe it was. I don't know, maybe I overreacted there. All these reanimated hordes, man. What the heck? I don't know. What the heck? There's some weird stuff going on. Alright, well anyway. Clearly there's some interesting bugs. Apparently if you weapon swap rapidly, you can then enter the area. I don't know why that's even happening though, to be honest. Alright, anyway. I just wanted to show you guys how fast she destroys ancients. Like, it's pretty insane. It's pretty cool. Look at that damage. Whoa. Now this is Talik. Oh, Talik has Stone Skin. Oh. He's Fire Immune and Stone Skin. That one's gonna take a while, actually. Yeah, so he's Fire and Physical Immune. Interesting. Can we get like a different one that doesn't have... There you go. So if he's not physical immune, I can even destroy Talok that fast, which is pretty insane for a fire immune one. Huh. Cool. Anyway, it's pretty crazy damage. Like it's just crazy damage in general. So you can kind of see just what you can really do with this character a little bit here. I guess I can run Baal, but there's a certain way you have to run Baal if you're gonna run it on this character. And of course you can encounter plenty of fire immunes in here, but it's okay. We're strong enough to where we can do it in P1 pretty easy. That's the physical damage right there. I can't break that physical immune. So it's doing a sizable amount of physical damage. Obviously the mercenary does more, but it's pretty impressive stuff. Jesus is right, sweet Jesus. Okay. So yeah, this is the problem here, is that you can't instantly kill these monsters, so the mercenary basically has to kill them. That's why we don't do chaos. It's also why Act 4 in general is a bit of a problem, but sometimes you get them in here, of course. Any Sorceress, though, is good at teleporting Baal, and Meteor is the classic Baal destroyer, except for Wave 5, so... It's one of the reasons why you build a Meteor Sorc and LOD is this right here. Right here. Alright, so this is the last LOD area we're gonna go over here. But if you just keep spamming meteors, rip, and as long as you put the mercenary on top of Colenso, he dies as well. Like, this is almost comical how fast you can destroy Baal waves. Look at that. Damn. Not even a problem, right? That's interesting, Mac Daddy. Huh. No, to be honest, I haven't really encountered that bug, I guess, before doing this. I'll have to fix it. Even Wave 4 isn't much of a problem. It's Wave 5 that's going to be an issue. We can still kill Wave 5, but it takes a while. The mercenary mostly has to be used. Wave 5's a fire immune even with Infinity, so it's going to be pretty rough. What I recommend doing there is just to walk the dogs out the door. Charcy, hubba hubba. What's up? Now we have come back from my excursion. As you can see, I do some damage, but it's not a lot. Your best strategy is going to be to do what I'm about to do right here. Just lead them outside. Unless you have someone with you, and then you can do whatever. Let's make sure to lead them outside the throne. Now, Baal gets destroyed. Baal, another boss who just gets destroyed. Like, honestly, Baal has the most HP by far out of all the bosses. And he's actually pretty challenging to kill. They actually increase his HP in this mod. So it's kind of hard to tell from vanilla, but you can see. That is insane! Done. That's Baal with increased HP, folks. That's nothing. Honestly, kills about as fast as you would expect to be killed in vanilla on a lot of builds, so that's pretty insane. Yeah, so as you can see, very good at boss killing, strong at killing certain areas, accomplished key farmer. She kills the cow level very well, even without much gear. There's a lot of areas she does very well without gear, like the cow level. And Stony Tomb, and even Maggot Lair to a degree. So, in addition to the bosses and key farming. So, Meteor Sorc is a great thing to build. Even when you don't have this crazy level of gear, you can see I'm destroying it, but you don't need to be destroying it at quite that level. It'll still be very strong. Is that Tyraels? No, there's no Tyraels. There's never a Tyraels. Alright, guys. Let's slam this, actually. Let's see if we're lucky. We are lucky! Holy moly! Let's go. Or Socket Corruption on an ED Colossus Bulge. Let's go. We are lucky. I tried my luck. Alright. Next, we're going to demo her maps. So, remember, I'm going to put in the description below and in the pinned comment her best maps in order. So, I always tier the maps, always. However, one thing I should note about fire builds in this mod is that even though they're insanely good at maps, potentially, there's 3 maps in particular that they're really good at. They can be strong at the other maps if they have more mixed damage, and if the damage has a higher spread, like fire, like Wake of Fire, for instance. But even though she does these maps very well, like the first top 3, top 4 maps are really strong, and then once you go below that, it starts to become kind of awkward with some of the monster spawns, because they have fire immunes that can't be broken by infinity in a lot of cases. Even in one of her strongest maps, she has one of those. There's actually 2 monster spawns that can do that, but they're not very dense and the mercenary can handle them pretty well. So just keep that in mind. Let's go over her strongest tier 1 first, though. I think these are my demo maps I set aside. Yep. Alright, let's do it. So we're going to do Ruins of Viz-jun, which is her strongest tier 1. It's the strongest tier 1 for any fire character in Season 1. Still is in Season 2. With her physical damage on Meteor and with the Mercenary's physical damage, those low HP fire immune mobs are not a problem. It's very wide open, so you can just flatten things. Just congregate the monsters and flatten them. It's got some kind of annoying stats, but nothing too crazy. Let's go. Got high density, though. Alright, man, have a good night. What's up, Stoked One? How you doing? So here, in a map is where you might want to use your Enigma teleport if you're using Enigma on a Sorceress. I know it sounds weird, but I'll go over the gear just to explain some of the gear choices you can make, and that's one of them. As you can see, though, this build flattens monsters. That's a physical immune. I recommend teleporting on top of them. So that your mercenary gets its damage. Your meteor does damage, but mobs and maps have a lot of HP. So the physical damage becomes a lot more insignificant inside of a map. Still pretty strong though. Notice that I'm still hitting them pretty hard, but you know, usually you're gonna want to teleport on top of them. And one thing to note is that there's no secondary skill for a Meteor Sorc in PD2. All of the synergies for Meteor are skills that don't get synergies with each other. So it's kind of hard to use anything except for Meteor. Not like you would want to anyway, because this ability is so good, but that's the reason why you just see me casting Meteor and teleport, basically. As you can see though, we're going to flatten the map a bit here. And also show you how we flatten the boss too. It's pretty crazy. Like, map bosses are really strong. She honestly makes it look pretty easy compared to a lot of other builds and a lot of other guides that I've done. She makes it look really easy. What's up, Bacteria Slap? How you doing? Doing a build guide for the Meteor Sorc at the moment. Hope you're all having a good night. Alright! Let's go. So yeah, you can see I'm one-shotting elite packs. Like, it's pretty crazy. Once you get damage, once you get like higher level gear on this build, you can start mapping. If you have Infinity as well and a lot of Pierce from the Fire Mastery, most of the monsters are already going to be at 0 fire res. At least in the ideal maps, without any fire facets or any like other negative res whatsoever. There's some exceptions to this, but for the most part that's how it is. which is why Fire Sorc is incredibly good for stacking magic fun. Of course, we'll talk about more of this stuff in the gear and stats sections coming up after the map demos for her strongest maps. Generally, you always want to play the characters in their strongest maps. That especially goes for this build. There's some builds that are more versatile, I would say. Gavel of Pain, by the way, is nice. Ooh. Wow, look at that. That's a gold find. Oh, res GC. We might actually use that on my gold find bar. That's nice. There is negative block in this map. Watch your mana if you're using energy shield. Make sure you have a pretty full pool of mana. Those require picking up potions here and there sometimes. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, in my opinion, there's almost nothing more satisfying than that sound of the meteor when it drops. And just like one-shotting things in the end game. It's pretty satisfying, not gonna lie. That's not really necessarily the best reason to play a build, but sometimes it is. I don't even know why I meteor some things twice. I really shouldn't in most cases. It's gonna take them out. Unless it's like a boss, then it takes like more hits than that, but it's pretty solid. Alright. If I use the faster Enigma teleport, I can avoid the damage penalty of the Sorceress teleport. So if I want to like reposition like this, surrounded by more mobs, it's pretty easy to do. Wow. This is a pretty tough map actually. It has some, not only does it have an insane amount of density, it has like negative block and whatnot, which is not good for a max block hardcore build. That's okay. Oh wow. I think my defense went down there. As you can see though, we're flattening the minions. Normally those minions tank a lot. Look how much damage Meteor's doing against a map boss. Like, that is crazy. That boss in particular has a ton of HP. So the fact that we're able to do that to him is almost comical. Yeah, make sure you don't get wrecked by the archers there. Definitely got a little low there. That's not too much of a problem now. You can actually jump into the middle of mobs and meteor yourself if you go ultra tanky on this build, like in hardcore. So you can't do that. It's a little tougher to do though when there's negative block in the map. So definitely be careful about the map statistics. You can definitely do it. You can even go in the middle of Black Lancers. This build's insanely tanky as well. I was taking some pretty heavy archer hits to the face even while amped. Solid stuff really for hardcore. So if you're looking for a good hardcore build, sorceresses are pretty fragile, but there's definitely ways to make them tanky. And given that Meteor doesn't drain your mana as much as maybe a Nova build that requires a lot of MPK, mana per kill, this is a nice choice actually for hardcore in a lot of ways. You can just kind of jump in there. You can be a little reckless with your teleporting. Especially if you use the Enigma teleport. Sometimes with only the half damage teleport, with a penalty, you don't kill them in one shot. We'll see that in Blood Moon when I demo it, but yeah, it's a pretty big difference there. Alright, Jewel, sweet. Oh god, so that's a nightmare scenario there. Be careful. Monsters have both Might and Fanaticism Aura. That is the most dangerous situation in any map. Very careful with that, especially with archers. Even with really tanky builds, you can sometimes find ways to kill you. Alright, we're good. Make sure their energy shield stays up. Ah! Okay, well, we got out of there, man. Whew! A little scared there, man. It'd be interesting to die during the demo video, right, chat? There's definitely some pretty nasty stuff going on here. Remember, you only have your mercenary and your tank stats to survive, so it can be pretty nasty.
I can't carry it.
Do you prefer Meteor over Blizzard? In this mod, absolutely. Blizzard is... the damage is too inconsistent. It's too RNG based. And they nerf the damage by and large. So it's not going to be that effective. Meteor is way better than Blizzard in this mod. At least currently. I rated, I think, Blizzard a B tier build, and this is an A tier build, so... There's definitely a significant difference in overall efficiency and map clear speed and LOD area clear speed, going from B to A tier and A to S tier. That's definitely enough difference to make that a tier down for sure. Yeah, Blizzard's a little sad right now, but it's okay. We'll not be making any Blizzard guides until it gets maybe a little bit stronger. Yeah, so, you know, if you ever see any dangerous auras, just back up or make sure you're ready to pot instantly. Or get out of there. That was a little dangerous though, man. Definitely some nasty stuff going on in this map, and with negative block, that's why I was pretty scared, because the map has negative block. But this can do enough damage to just flatten me. There's definitely a lot of one-shot potential. Even with this much HP and whatnot. Hardcore is never going to be 100% safe. Especially when you don't have battle orders nearly as powerful in this mod. So yeah, I can just teleport around Meteor myself if I want. I can do that. It's actually pretty nice. Yeah, it's fun just to, you know, jump and stuff. Just gotta mine those auras. Do I have any Sorcs in the S tier? Frost? You want to see my tier list, by the way? I made a video on it in the beginning of Season 2. And there are some updates in that first pinned comment after they did a couple of more patches. But overall, it was at the end of the closed beta. After lots of testing, you can check it out. Exclamation S2 tiers. Demolition. Make sure to keep your energy shield, shiver armor, and battle orders up at all times. Especially if you're going to be very aggressive with your teleporting. Like I'm being right now. No! Stop it, game! Stop it! Okay. That GC is nice though. It's gold to find all res GC. Pick up those perfect gems for rerolling for sure, right? And the flawless gems if you're crazy like me. Alright, here we go. So yeah, even a map that's a little bit challenging, with a ton of density and negative block, which is definitely not ideal. She holds her own for sure. Also, we had some pretty dangerous aura situations, so that's pretty nice. Got to see some of the more hardcore situations, and she's taking them on like a champ, right? A little bit. Let's make sure to use potions, you know. Check her mana. Ooh, we are out of space. Out of space. Okay. You can always use telekinesis to pick up potions. You don't even have to use energy shield, but then you can't play as aggressively, but I'll explain that when I get to the skills section. This is not one of those builds that you have to use it, but it's really nice for hardcore. I like it for sure. Chance guards, 40! Aww. Wow. They're so bad I don't even feel like corrupting them. What do you know? What a joke! Come on, man, for the people. For the people, you gotta roll better than that. Anyway, this map gets flattened pretty efficiently. Once you get like really solid gear on this map and you go pretty efficient at it, you can flatten the map in somewhere between like 15 to 17 minutes, which is actually pretty impressive. I wouldn't say this is her best map though overall. I would say this is her best tier 1 though. They definitely introduced more fire enemies potentially with these suckers. And definitely situations where it feels like you're not able to do as much damage as maybe you could. Still one of her better maps though. I'd say it's in her top 3. And it's definitely her best tier 1 map. Wow, look at that. Anyway, GG. Good map, easy stuff. How do you have 10,000 defense on a Sorceress? So we'll talk about that when we get to the stats and skills and gear section here of the guide. So that's definitely a good question though. Ask that question again and I'll make sure to pay some extra attention to it. Alright, so we got Mav's Bow, Gavel of Pain. That's pretty nice stuff. I think it's good free list fodder. Also, that is really good. That is really good. I think, stack more res. More res and more gold find for the gold find barb. That's what he needs. He needs more of those like gold find charms. It's gonna definitely make the difference. Alright, now chat, we're going to demo probably her best map, which is Blood Moon. Now, it's most people's best map. There's a lot of builds that do well, but fire builds do really well in here because fire does a ton of damage compared to like cold and lightning overall. And there's no immunities in Blood Moon, which makes Blood Moon even better than on her than it is on a lot of other builds. So I definitely want to show that here in a second. Where did I put her Blood Moon maps? Guess I put it here. Okay. Cool. Accidentally put them away somewhere. Alright. Also, the Meteor FHR lock is amazing on them because they just take too much damage on them. So yeah. One thing I'm gonna show you guys though, one thing that you can use Enigma for if you actually decide to go Enigma like me. Enigma I know is a little expensive, but it's a cool use of a Jaw rune, especially when Jaw runes have been devalued by so many nerfs to Jaw rune words. Inadvertent or direct or indirect nerfs, that is. But one thing that's kind of cool. This is probably her best map overall. I'd say it's her best tier 2. The next map I'm going to demo is also a tier 2, which she's very strong in. Fire builds like I said, with other mixed damage, tier 3s can be okay, but most tier 3s, or every tier 3 I think, has some kind of heavy fire resistance. So it's a little tougher to demo those. They can be decent, but it's going to be awkward fighting with some of those monsters with the Meteor Sorc. So probably going to stay away from tier 3 at least in this demo. That being said, there's definitely better builds for tier 3 for sure. Anyway, she flattens cows. It's pretty crazy. You see that she just flattens whole herds of them. No nonsense about it. It's not like the damage ticks down or anything. They just get flattened. Which makes this definitely an insane area to run on this character. She has no problem in Blood Moon at all. She could definitely run this area in like 20 to 25 minutes if you focus on going pretty fast. And it's pretty solid time for an A tier build for sure. Really good stuff. The one thing to note is I can actually sit here. I can be surrounded by the cows. And I can be totally fine. Oh no, I'm gonna die in hardcore. I got surrounded by cows. Not! As you can see, we have so many good defensive stats against pure physical damage. It also makes this very ideal because with energy shield plus max block DR and 10,000 defense, physical damage is very good. Physical elemental damage burns through the energy shield, so I'm not nearly as tanky against a lot of elemental damage, which is one of the reasons why Ruins is a good map for her, but it's not necessarily her best map. So you can see here, it's pretty good. You can just go, BAM! Heck, even the ghost can stack on me. Normally, ghost stacking is pretty dangerous, right? I even ran out of mana there, and it's fine. Mana's gone. It's not a big deal. Do watch auras, though. If the cows have auras, they start hitting extremely hard. So fanaticism or might, they can kill you still. I don't feel like you're invincible in here because you're not. There are definitely situations where they can kill you. Situations you might want to step a bit back and just kill them from afar like this. This is, yeah, with that funk pounding sound of the meteor, the cows just dropping. It's really pretty incredible stuff in here. I'm just gonna kind of show you guys. You can just get totally surrounded. It really doesn't matter in most cases until the cows start getting some heavy damage. But even the fire immunes get killed by the mercenary and the physical damage portion of the meteor. If cows are physical and fire immune, which can happen with certain modifiers on the elites, which is pretty rare. Just avoid the cow. Just teleport somewhere else. This is where we found some of our Hirons last night. Pretty cool stuff. Energy shield's awesome, right, Mephisto? So yeah, this area just gets absolutely trampled by this build. Some builds are not actually very good in here, like Teeth, you know, but even though most builds are good in here, I'd say this build is like excellent. This is definitely some insane clear speed. Now, one thing to note is I'm going to show you guys Sorceress teleport with the debuff there from the negative damage. Teleport has a lot of nerfs applied to it in this mod. This is one of them. I'm going to show you guys what happens if I teleport and immediately cast a meteor. So, I need Sorceress teleport and immediately cast a meteor. Oh wait. The grave. Notice how they didn't all die in one shot there. They're actually still alive. Now I'm going to use Enigma Teleport and cast a meteor. As you can see, no damage penalty. The damage penalty will apply at the moment of casting the meteor, not when it lands. And it's pretty clear that, oh wow. Dang, another nice jewel today. That's some nice jewels. Obviously, if you're just walking around like this, you can kind of walk with faster run walk as well with faster run walk on your boots and with Enigma or whatever else. You can also just kind of walk around. You don't even have to really teleport. This is another cool way to play the character. You're also going to get more meteors out this way too in a lot of cases. And there's the boss of this map, Cow Queen. She is very weak though. This character just gets flattened, so not really an issue really. And a Lemrune, sweet! That's actually an interesting drop from a map boss, okay. Sweet. Also watch if you have Amp as well when teleporting into cows, not just auras, but Amp alone and auras alone will probably not kill you, but if you're amped and they have auras, that's usually when it's going to be bad, even if you teleport into them. Just be careful. Be careful, guys. Hardcore is a dangerous place. Alright. Alright, so yeah, I can show you again. Sorceress teleport. Notice how it didn't really do much damage. Now, I'll do Meteor without doing any teleport. Flattened. Flattened. Sorceress teleport. It was killing some cows that already had some damage, but for the most part, you saw at the point of impact, it wasn't really killing any cows. If I use Enigma teleport, we're good. We just killed them. So, once again, there is a way to kind of like use Enigma to like increase their mobility in these maps without having to sacrifice your damage, but remember it was only 3 charges on it, so not necessarily something you have to have either. We'll kind of explain other gear options. But Enigma's good for other reasons as well. Sometimes it looks like the meteor is actually casting faster than it is. I think it's when you hover over a clickable or something, but not how it actually works. Alright, there it is. Physical fire immune. So stone skin and fire enchanted. You cannot kill that. Don't bother. I mean, you can break the physical immune using her battle cry on her CTA swap. I really don't think it's worth it. So most of the time when I'm just moving around, I'm just going to use the quick Enigma teleport. But when I'm moving over longer distances, I'm not going to waste my charges. What's up, Octo? How you doing? Yeah, this build's not a joke at all. Like that is fast cow clear speed right there. These monsters have quite a bit of HP, but it doesn't matter. Too much damage. And the crazy part is we're not even using like damage gear really, we're mostly just using magic find gear, so that's how crazy this build is to some extent. But it's not like it's overpowered or anything. Like honestly, because of the delay and everything else, I think it's probably in a very good place. A tier builds are in a good place in my opinion, so once it gets up to that S tier, that's maybe a little broken. This is pretty nice. Beware of those extra fast finesses in cows. Especially when you're amped like I am currently. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of finish demoing this map here. Bam. 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 What's up, Octo? We were streaming earlier. I had to had a segmented 2-part stream today. You're doing well, sir. Any big finds today? Hellslayer. Yesterday we found crazy stuff. I think yesterday might have sapped a rune RNG for today, to be honest. I don't know. We'll do some more maps after this and see if we get anything else today. Oh, baby. Yeah, don't be afraid to teleport in the middle of the cows if it's awkward positioning. As long as you get that max block shield, decent faster block rate, it's pretty nice. Alright, sweet. Whoa. Alright, so after we pretty much complete this map, we're gonna go do her last really strong map. I would say it's her second strongest map, which is the Torajan Jungle. Torajan Jungle has no fire immunes that are base fire immunes either. And because of the way the map is structured, it's actually kind of ideal for Meteor in a lot of ways. A nice linear-ish map that's got enough space for Meteor to land. Pretty nice. Alright, let's go! Yeah. If you cast Meteor on yourself, we're gonna stop doing damage to you pretty soon. Pretty rapidly. See, this cow map has ghosts, which means we have 2 monster types that drop runes at a higher rate. Getting cow maps with ghosts is pretty amazing. Not to say we will necessarily find any high runes, but the odds are definitely better. Ghosts don't drop armor or weapon items, so their loot tables are more favorable to runes, charms, gems, jewels, jewelry, and gems, and of course also puzzle boxes and worldstone shards, because those can also drop from those monsters. Anything that can drop drops more often from those, because there's not as many items for them to drop. Okay. Let's see here. So we got extra fast might. We don't have amp on us right now, so we don't have to be too scared about that. That's fine. They're gonna kill you pretty fast though if they start coming up on you, so you gotta be careful. Right, another BK ring. You know, we've been finding a lot of BK rings lately. How you doing, chat? Surviving. Ah! Soul Rune Madness. Those juicy meteor hits there. In a lot of ways, you almost want to be surrounded because that's how you can kind of like maximize the density here. You want to be surrounded if possible. It's the edge of the map. You can actually go over there. What's up, Bob? Mephisto? How you doing? There we go. We have someone alive. What's up, Hardsky? How you doing? Doing pretty good, man. Making our Meteor Sorc guides. So right now we're just demoing maps. Or rather, demolitioning maps, I suppose. Demolition! I was dropped so many Worldstone shards. It's pretty sick. Whenever I want Worldstone shards, definitely come to those. Come to the cow map. This cow map's kind of decent. You can actually get better ones with even more density. But yeah, as you can see, I don't really care about being surrounded at all. Even on hardcore, it's pretty lax most of the time. You have to have, you know, some gear though. Otherwise, I don't recommend playing like that. The great thing about Meteor though is that you can cast it on yourself, or you can cast it on the edge of the screen. It has a lot of versatility in terms of like how to play the build. So even if you don't have as much gear as I do, you can play a lot safer. Sorc looks very good. Oh yeah. She's a danger. Alright.
I am overburdened.
Hey, you can check out that list if you want. I can give away items again off that list if you make a game, if you like anything on the list currently. After Slamfest though, 2 days after Slamfest, we're gonna have way more stuff on that list though. Be prepared. There we go.
I can't carry anymore.
Dun, dun. Alrighty, let's go. Oh, wow. Stuck in the longhouse with the cows. Ooh, wow, 5 all-res. Dude, we've been finding some crazy all-res charms, jewels, everything during this demo video. Wow. That's actually insane. It's a nice assortment of res gear, really. If you wait like a little bit after teleporting to cast the meteor, it should be fine, but otherwise, I think the teleport will do better there. Alright, so... yeah, that's pretty much all you can do here. Nice. Alright, so that was it. That was about, yeah, like 19-20 minutes. So yeah, there you go. Pretty effective at clearing the Blood Moon map. More density will mean it'll take a little bit longer. That's about it. Alright, so... you can, Wraith, you can. You're gonna have to wait until we finish making the video, though. It's gonna be a little bit. Are you still gonna be around, man? I can give you the gavel. Actually, if you want this gavel right now, come to game Toad 9, password 777. I'm gonna drop this gavel for you right now. Can you enter a hell game? Yeah, I actually have another gavel. I have another one. You can just have this one, dude. I don't think you really care what gavel it is, so... you can actually pick it up now. Yeah, man. Alright. So we found a 20 life small charm too, that's also pretty nice. Let's brick this thing. If I see the yellow, the rare, Marl Defer. Negative requirements on a gavel. That's actually not a bad thing to have on a gavel. Means you don't have to wear strength gear on the mercenary. Sweet. Cute. Alright guys. And in this final part of the map demo, we're gonna run her probably her second best map. Second best tier 2. Not really gonna rank order her tier 3s, kind of like I don't think in the Bone Necro guide, because even though I could demo those, there's actually some pretty strong ones for the Bone Necro, but for this character, tier 3s can be a little challenging, especially without like insanely good gear and a little awkward. So I don't really recommend maybe doing tier 3s on this build too much, unless you kind of just want to get some more XP. Instead though, we're gonna do her last really good map. And we're going to move on to stats, skills, and your options for softcore and hardcore as well. So as you can see, no resistance to fire in here. Also, physical resistance is also very low. That's usually what you want. No fire immunes, no physical resistance. Her best two maps by far are definitely Torajan Jungle and Blood Moon. Honestly, if you just stack this character full of Torajan Jungle and Blood Moon maps, you're gonna be sitting pretty. No, my Amethyst. So yeah, on a map like this, it's kind of just like a decent MF, decent density map. You can play very aggressively. As long as you watch the warriors, you're fine. Yeah, so it's really strong in this map for sure. Very beautiful. Her two strongest maps being tier 2s is actually kind of interesting, because for most builds, tier 1s are usually their strongest maps, just in terms of like clear speed and everything else. With or without insane gear. So it's not bad, but she also doesn't have many strong tier 3s, so that's the problem there. Yeah, trap skiller. Hey, man, these charms are pretty solid. Even if we don't find like an insane like unique item, even though we have 500 magic find in this map, just goes to show you how much diminishing returns come into play on a Meph. Remember, chat, Meph is not everything. Just RNG, a lot of RNG. Let them surround me. Not bad. The only real elemental damage that's going to give you a problem in this map is hydras, so be careful of how many hydras you get surrounded by. Solid. Oh yeah, you know, the more mobs you kill and the faster you kill them is usually the better way to go. That's why you could definitely consider a shooters on this build, which I'm not currently wearing, but I'll talk about that in the gear section. I always talk about gear even if I don't have the gear, and maybe if I want the gear as well, just like I did on the Zealer guide. And with the last Zealer update we did, you saw how we actually got some of that gear. He's even better. I might make updates on any of my builds in case I get significantly stronger so that you can kind of see the difference. The difference when you get more gear and then the build gets even more insane. So I'm using a lot of Enigma teleport. Why? Because I don't want my first meteor to be dinky. But yeah. Wow, you hit 98 on your Mason. Nice Super Surge. MF works though, it definitely does. I found Ming Song's lesson on this character yesterday, so this character has a ton of magic finds, so it definitely helped, I think. There's some pretty crazy stuff you can find out there. That being said, right now we're finding really nice charms. Lots of all-res, trap skiller. Can't really go wrong at the moment. So yeah, this map is pretty much the if Blood Moon is her playground, this is her this is her lounge right here. This is her spa treatment. Definitely gets pretty hot in here, so all that fire. Flame-broiled cows are always nice. Some toasty quill rat though isn't bad either, especially given how dangerous they are. Might want to get revenge on them for killing one of your previous characters. Just roast them. Yeah, that's not too bad. Oh, you hit 99 today. Oh, wow. Yeah, you can hit 99, you know, you just do maps constantly. It's actually possible. Got a Sur and Trav Wraith Vector? Nice. That's actually sick, man. Congrats. Had a lot of Surins yesterday. So yeah, you just keep teleporting around, walking around. Just launching out those meteors, and more density than this is actually preferred. Same thing with the cow level. You get way better maps than this. You've done lots of better maps, but I want it pretty clean, just, you know, simple scenarios for the demo for the most part. That being said, we ran into some nasty ones in the Ruins map, so always gonna be clean and simple, right? And it's nice to show how this character performs under pressure, too. Those are some elite quill rats. I'm not even amped, so they're not going to do anything to me. You have to watch the quill rats sometimes, though. Their auras with amp are definitely the most dangerous monster in here. The rest of the monsters in comparison are not very dangerous, so... Just gotta watch it. Oh man, so satisfying. Let's go. Spa treatment after all that fire. Yeah. Well, this is the spa treatment, man. This is the fire. Right here, man. Alright. Oh man. Meteor's OP. Let's go. So yeah, this build's a lot of fun, really. Like, it's kind of fun to have a playstyle where you can just play it far, close, smash the enemies. It's not the most efficient build in the universe, which is why it's not an S tier, but it's insanely good. It's probably the most efficient build in the fire tree, though, at the moment. Yeah, not right now. We're just doing a demo for solo gameplay. But having level 47 resist fire would be pretty sick. I'm already one-shotting things though. Like, we would need more people in the game to really show off just like how much damage we do if we were to start adding like more damage auras and whatnot. Alright, so a great worm, here I am. No problem with Meteor, to be honest. It heals itself up very quickly, but as you can see, we don't have to worry about the maggots either. We can just drop the meteors right on top of it. This character really has no issues with bosses whatsoever, even on maps. Matter of fact, if some of the maps were kind of awkward with the fire immunes, as long as you can get to the map bosses themselves, it's a breeze. Really makes light of them for sure. Alright, let's finish up this map and then let's go over the stats on this beast. Yeah, 1 to 95 in 13 hours. Dang. Yeah, with mapping, it's pretty crazy what you can do, right? Pretty crazy. XP gains are crazy, right, Super Sage? Yeah, so if you see a whole bunch of council members, I recommend taking them out as soon as possible. You're gonna get out lots of hydras. Hydras will burn out your energy shield. Alright. One ring. There we go. Ow, babe. Juicy. So just look at the cows. I can usually teleport directly in the middle. It's a little tougher to teleport directly in the middle though, and there's a lot of elemental damage, but it's okay. And again, you can just not use energy shield and not have to worry about it. But then you have to worry about the problem of having a low health pool. And so there's definitely more situations that can kill you like that. Gotta be mindful of those auras though, always. Wow, you know, I actually had a Throne of Insanity I did like that earlier this ladder. It's pretty crazy. I bet that map has Standard of Heroes buffs applied to it as well, right? Pretty crazy, right?
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken cave.
Kiwi Slayer, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Cult Xander's Day. Alright, well, honestly, I think that was like, oh yeah, that was like 15, 16 minutes there, so that was impressive. Yeah, so as you can see, she absolutely rips this map to shreds. Alright, well, that will do for the mapping and LOD demos, so that'll be it for the character demos. Hope you guys learned some things from me playing the character itself. Now, let's go into... Oh, what is this RNG with my Towels Ammies lately? Wow, another Towels Ammy. That's crazy. Sometimes I never find them, and then lately it feels like I've been finding them a lot. Like, it's pretty crazy. That's really cool, but... 40 ED, 7 strength? Wow. That's a nice jewel. It's also a pretty nice jewel. Interesting. Make sure to ID those jewels, chat, for sure. Everyone, ID those jewels. YouTube, chat, everyone. ID the jewels. Yep. Either's gonna go on the free list. Probably not, at least not immediately, but that's okay. Okay, Alright guys, so let's go over her gear. Firing archers mean nothing to her. Alrighty. Anyway, the Meteor Sorc is an awesome A tier build. Let's go over her stats and what kind of stats you're looking for on this build. Her gear and then her skills. Yeah. I mean, probably not that great. Yeah, not 7 of them, man. I need more than that, I think, for that item. But if you're talking about the one on the trade list, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We're not getting any free items yet, though. So if you guys want any of those items, you're gonna have to wait after this. So anyway, stats. All right, so max res. Pretty straightforward. You always want max res. Stacked res is preferable on hardcore, but you always want max res. Meteor damage. This includes physical and fire damage. The physical portion is like 4,000 though. So between the damage per second and the initial impact, it does a lot more fire damage. So it's mostly a fire damage build, but you almost don't need as much pierce because you also have physical damage to shore it up. So it just does so much damage. It's crazy. That's definitely one of the major selling points of the build. All right. Then of course we have max block and we have 10,000 defense. It's 9,990 defense. 10,000 and max block. So max block, really good on hardcore, especially playing such a fragile, low HP character. You're definitely gonna want that max block if you can get it. Storm Shield is probably going to be your best choice in hardcore, especially with the nerf to Gurks last season. That being said, Gurks can still be used. You're just going to need like heavy metaphysical, maybe like physical percent on the Shaco or something. But yeah, you can do that. Life, mana, looking pretty good. We're not a Nova Sorc build, so we don't need like 1,000+ mana. We're not draining mana that quickly, but with around like 800, we can kind of jump into whatever and have a good time. And then, of course, you just put the rest of the points into Vitality after putting enough Strength, 126 to Strength bug your shield. You should have 156 at the end. Has 157 because I leveled up since the last time I used a Respect token and I'm wearing Enigma. So that is pretty much exactly what we want. All the rest of the energy is from gear, which is pretty cool. Anyway, you don't have to put any points in energy even though you're using Energy Shield. Definitely don't do that. Alright, so stacked res. If it's really stacked, then even all that negative res from maps and conviction won't do anything, but you know, we have some stack as well on the fire and poison. Physical damage reduction with the Defiance Mercenary. You have 41% in 9 flat. It's pretty good stuff. The Defiance Mercenary gives you 9% on top of the rest of the gear. Having somewhere between like 40 and 50% is nice, especially on a Sorceress. Especially if you just want to teleport around and kind of have a good time just jumping into the cows and whatnot. That's pretty good stuff. Alright. And then cast rate. So one thing to note about this build is that you're not really looking for too much cast rate on this build because Meteor is a cooldown ability. It's a fast cooldown ability. You might notice I can't use it for a little bit. Cast rate does not affect the speed of Meteor. Period. Just to demo this, can take off. My FCR, I can just lose FCR frames like crazy. Doesn't matter how much FCR I lose, the Meteor will cast at the same rate. So, what does that mean? That means that I like to get enough FCR to at least hit the 78 breakpoint for teleporting around on my Sorceress teleport. That being said, though, like if you're running Mephisto, you might want to go for that 117 frame just to have that lightning FCR frame for teleport. Lightning FCR frames are for teleport, lightning, chain lightning, and for frozen orb. So these frames aren't going to matter except for the Enigma teleport. So for the 63 FCR one, that's actually 63 FCR vanilla teleport speed right there. So yeah, you can definitely get a little bit more FCR if you really want it, but it's not one of those priority stats on a Meteor Sorc. Um, Definitely make sure you're getting more damage and magic find first, I would say, on this build. And if you're going for bosses like Mephisto and you're only going for bosses, you can hit that 117 just to have a bit of an easier time getting to Mephisto itself or Andariel. Hit recovery. So I only have 15. I'm only hitting a 15 frame. I'm not going very hard in hit recovery. It's only small charms giving me that as well. And the reason being is that I have so much defense, which means the monsters don't hit me most of the time. I have max block, which means that I'm hitting block frames, so I'm not really hitting FHR. And then also they're hitting my energy shield. So even with just the 1 point energy shield, which is 40% absorb, I'm not usually taking enough damage to my life to be put in hit recovery, which is 1/12 of your health pool. So you don't really need hit recovery. You can almost go 0. The reason why I have 15 is just in case I get into some really nasty situations and I can potentially escape them using my FHR, but most of the time it's the block frames that are going to get in your way, not the FHR. It could help with like souls, though, like high amounts of elemental damage that drains your mana, kind of like soul lightning. That would be nice, but for that you probably shouldn't run energy shield in there at all. You should be running like T-Gods instead of a rack, so just keep that in mind. Not a huge stat on these kinds of characters at all. Fast run walk, 55%. I mean, it helps running through town, and of course you can also just cast meteors and walk. So, fast run walk is kind of nice. Kind of advance your meteors a bit faster. It's not a super priority stat though. I do have a faster run walk fire GC though, which is kind of nice. One thing to note is block rate. So block rate, I'm hitting the 32 frame. One of the reasons why you might not want to use a shield like Gurks is because if you want to play really aggressively and teleport and cast meteors on yourself, block rate is what's going to be preventing you from attacking most of the time, not FHR. So Gurks doesn't have any block. Actually, wait, I think they did add block rate to it, didn't they? They added block rate this season, but it doesn't have as much as Storm Shield. So you're actually hitting a higher frame with Storm Shield, so that would force you into using like Water Walks to increase your block rate, I think, using Gurks. Also, Gurks doesn't have percent DR. But you could do it, and then you could use Water Walks. You just have to like find another spot for MF or cannot be frozen. I think, there's definitely an argument to be made. Gurks has an extra skill, but just make sure you get that block rate definitely like north of 32 to make sure you're not just constant block mode, unless you want to play Meteor from afar and you don't really care, or if you're on softcore and you don't have block at all. So keep that in mind there. Way more important there. And then let's see here. Obviously we don't use attack rating. It's a physical damage thing. All right, magic find. So 397. I had 396 before I leveled up. 397 magic find. We're actually about to hit 93 tonight after I do this video, but yeah. You can stack tons of magic find on a Meteor Sorc, which is one of the selling points of this build in my mind, because it does so much damage that you almost don't need to prioritize maximum damage. Like, you can see I'm one-shotting things in maps almost always. Pretty much just stack MF to the moon. Like, get all your MF, have maximum chance to find those ultra rare uniques. I found a whole bunch of them last night, like Oculus and Mink Song. Found Hellslayer today. Like, there's just crazy stuff. Didn't find too many in the demos, but we found a lot of charms instead. But you get the idea. There is heavy diminishing returns on it, but at the same time, why not stack it if you can? And in vanilla content, like with boss farming, this build really excels at dealing tons of damage while also being able to stack MF, which is one of the major selling points of the Meteor Sorceress. Alright, so let me see if there's any other major stats I skipped over here. One thing to note about the defense is that if you have a lot of high defense gear with just 1 point shiver armor, and a lot of high defense gear with 1 point shiver armor, Defiance aura on the mercenary, so the Act 2 Defiance defense mercenary. Not only do you get that bonus DR, DR is really crucial, of course, in hardcore, but if you don't get hit with all that defense, it's going to be huge. Yeah, one of the things is like having Enigma on you also gives you an enormous amount of defense as well, and it really makes it hard for the monsters to hit you. So that's why we're able to play so aggressively with this build. I really like the aggressive playstyle of a Meteor Sorc on Hardcore, which I know is kind of hard to achieve on a Sorceress in Hardcore period, but I mean you saw it happen there. It's pretty freaking tanky, so you don't really have to worry about that. But yeah, that's if you get a lot of high defense gear, 1-point Shiver Armor, Defiance, you can get your defense very high. And yeah, so our Meteor is level 45, so it's not like we don't have tons of plus skills. But one thing to note is that you can have even more damage with some gear if you want to take off some MF. I don't know if it's always necessary, but it can help with like boss killing and things like that, because it does take some extra meteors otherwise. MF is a myth, yeah. Well, tell that to the Ming Songs lesson I found. I mean, it's not a myth. You could find Ming Songs with 0 MF, just to be perfectly clear. You can find any item in the game with 0 MF, but it will increase your odds, even for unique finds, even with the diminishing returns. The odds are still going up slightly, so keep that in mind. Anyways, so that's it for the stats. I think those are all it for the stat priorities. Those are the kind of stats you should be looking for. DR, defense, that plus 1-point energy shield, max block, life. Mana is good for the 1-point energy shield, and then of course just damage, plus skills, res, and MF are usually going to be your priority stats. FCR is good for moving around, but it's getting a super high FCR frame, like 105 even, is not really necessary on this build. And because Meteor is a cooldown ability, and yeah, and FHR is a high priority stat if you have energy shield, defense, and max block, because max block will put you into block frames. Alright, so let's go into skills. Alright, skills, pretty straightforward on this build. 1-point Shiver Armor gives you like 3,000 defense for free. I really like that on Hardcore. On Softcore, you can almost just say, no, it's not worth that 1-point skill investment. You should maybe put some more points into your 100-point synergies for the Meteor build. But I like it on Hardcore. It's definitely nice to have. And then you can use like a CTA, energy shield staff if you want, like a 5-socketed energy shield or a staff that grants energy shield, and then put called arms in it, and then you don't have to need to put points into here. You can just like swap to your CTA, and you can do that. But I'm fine putting four extra points in just to get 1-point energy shield, so I don't have to bother with staves or swapping or anything else to get my energy shield. So because some of those things can make you vulnerable in Hardcore, not being able to immediately put your energy shield back on. So I like putting just 1-point energy shield. You can put more points into teleport to reduce the penalty if you're teleporting a lot, but remember you can walk around. You can use Enigma teleport. If you use Enigma, you can circumvent it. I wouldn't bother really. And if you really want to play even more defensive, you can use like an energy shield staff. Just hope you don't lose it in a crucial moment, and then put more points into telekinesis instead, which can increase the effectiveness of energy shield by, it's basically DR for energy shield, DR for mana. So because the damage goes to your mana when you use energy shield, or a percentage of it does, in this case 38%. You're taking like double damage to your mana as you would take to your life originally, but the more points you put into telekinesis, the less mana points per health point you lose. Starts out at 2, it could go all the way down to 0.75 mana points for health points if you max out telekinesis, so that's nice. But you're probably not going to be maxing it out anyway. On any build, definitely don't mess around with this on softcore usually, and on hardcore, there's too many points that the meteor build actually requires to probably do it usually. So usually you just put some extra spare points if you really have any. And then finally, the core of the build. This is a 100-point build technically. In order to max out meteor's damage, you would need 100 points. You might notice that I only have 90 points in my build. 40, 40, 45, 45, 45, which these are maxed out. The reason I'll explain here in a moment. What you should prioritize if you're not maxing out the build fully because you want to put like a point in Shiver Armor for hardcore or energy shield more points into telekinesis on hardcore. If you're not doing that, I'll explain kind of what you can kind of like leave out a little bit. But since I'm level 92, you can see I still have room for putting more points in. All the rest of my points are going to go into like Inferno and then Fire Mastery and Order. But the way it works is you put 1 point of Warmth in this tree, so honestly, Warmth is so effective for Energy Shield. And on this build, which is a Fire build, it's going to be even more effective. On the Lightning build, Energy Shield ends up being more effective. But on this build, Warmth is for regenerating your mana, simply because you have so many fire skills. So putting 1 point into Warmth is huge. Don't forget that point. And then put, of course, Max Meteor, max the 3 synergies. Inferno, Firewall, and Fireball. On my current build, I'm going to max out all those synergies at level 97. Now you might wonder, why haven't I maxed out Fire Mastery, Dark Humility? Well, Fire Mastery, I would say, is the very last priority. That's because you only get 4% more damage versus 9% from any of the Meteor synergies. And on top of that, you max out on the Fire Pierce at level 40. So you see how my current level is level 40 on Fire Mastery? It's level 45 on Meteor, but it's level 40. So at level 40, it's maxed out. Level 39, I have 39 Fire Pierce. Once you hit level 40, the Fire Pierce can't increase, so you're not decreasing the monster's fire resistances anymore. And with Infinity plus this, you get negative 74 anyway. So maxing out Fire Mastery fully past level 40 starts to lose effectiveness because you're only getting 4% more damage per level. Whereas with the rest of the synergies, you're getting 9% more. So maxing out the synergies becomes more important for Meteor in general. So for the rest of my levels, I'm going to put them into Inferno probably. And I'm probably not going to touch this. As a matter of fact, if we get more plus skills on this build, we can maybe even ignore that even more. And just put more points into Inferno. In case I don't level to 99. So anyway, that's the skills. That's what you're going to want to do on this character. For softcore, you could almost... On softcore, I might just like max out all the damage. You can definitely do that if you don't care about going to 99. And you might not even care about Shiver Armor. You might not even care about Energy Shield. So you might just be able to put all the damage even sooner on the build. In the case of this build currently, with that 1 point Energy Shield and Shiver Armor, I would max out in damage at level 102, which is impossible in Diablo 2. So, yeah, not quite, but I'd get pretty close. I'd start to put some points in a Fire Mastery, and that would be that. It's close enough. You have so much damage already. I mean, it's... Even without all the synergies max, you can see how crazy the damage is, so it's pretty nutty. Alright, so now let's go over gear. So, her gear is pretty good. There's definitely upgrades, like you get a 3-socketed Oculus here, for instance. 3-skill Oculus, though, with 2 sockets, really, really high magic find. And mana per kill is also not a bad thing. Killing the monsters and regenerating your mana, especially if you want to play it very aggressively and kill the monsters around you. You can regenerate it after losing a lot of mana from Energy Shield. I really like this orb. It also gives you res, energy, and vitality. It gives you FCR, which is good for at least the 78 frame, which I'm targeting at the moment. Very solid stuff, and sometimes you can get in trouble with the teleport, so you gotta watch that, but overall, it's not gonna be too bad. There is the only other weapon I'd probably use on this character is a Shuda, so a Shuda's Temper. Shuda's Temper is definitely going to be a better approach for really high HP monsters. Like, let's say you're running in a group, you're probably going to want to use a Shuda's. Shuda's gives you % fire damage and also gives you even more Fire Pierce. And you don't normally need more Fire Pierce to get a monster down to 0 than 74. That being said, though, there's some monsters that have even higher fire res. So if you have Fire Pierce on a Shuda's and you maybe have some fire facets somewhere else in the build, could definitely help out quite a bit. And of course, there's % fire damage on a Shuda's as well. In addition to Shuda's giving you more FCR, Shuda's does not have all res though, does not have MPK, and does not have 50 base magic find. So there's definitely some pros and cons there. Alright, Shaco. Shaco, on a fire build, I mean, you're not a lightning build, so Griffins isn't going to help you. You're not a cold build, so Nightwings isn't going to help you. There's no fire-based homes for a Sorceress. Shaco is pretty much going to be your best choice, I think, period. Unless you want to go higher FCR with like a 220 circlet, or like a three skill circlet. You could definitely do that as well. But this gives you so much life, mana, DR, MF. I'm using a 2-socket one. I mean, of course, you can get like potentially a 3-skill 2-socket one, which would be insane. But this one's pretty solid as it is. It just gives you all the stats you really want, to be honest, though. I mean, it's kind of hard to beat this helm for sure on this build. It's pretty hard to beat. All right. Amulet. So you could get like a 4-skill amulet here if you're already meeting your FCR requirements just for teleporting around that you want. Remember, though, FCR is not going to impact meteor speed. That being said, though, I crafted a really awesome quad-res mana generation 3-skill amulet. Got a skill corruption on it. So this 10 FCR right now with the current setup is helping us hit a 78 breakpoint. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. That's a really perfect amulet right now for what I'm currently doing. So it's got everything. You could get 4 skills on it though, so there's a way to get another skill there. Shield. So as we went over before on Hardcore, I highly recommend max block in the end game. So your choices are pretty much going to be Gurk's Storm Shield or a Safety Shield of some kind. Gurk's has a lot of flat DR. I like this one because the percent DR is higher. I have a pretty crazy corruption on it too, which is like best in slot besides maybe 2-socket, 1 skill. 3-socket is amazing for that res. It's stacking the res to the moon, which is really what we want in Hardcore, so it's really awesome stuff. It's got all that stacked res with the umrids. It's got the block rate as well, which is pretty huge. Like I said, Gurk's does not have this much block rate. It did get some block rate this season. I actually corrected that. But you're going to need to use something that doesn't give you as much magic find and boots if you use that instead. Gurk's does have another skill, though. And it doesn't give you percent DR, so it's going to be a little bit of a more dangerous option than Storm Shield. Just keep that in mind when you play with Gurks. Enigma. Alright, so... Hey, what's up, King Colt? Yeah, it is for sure. What's up, Xanred? Alright, so... Enigma is... It's funny to use Enigma on a Sorceress, especially on PD2 when Enigma is kind of nerfed in a lot of ways. But I actually kind of like it in some ways, but to be fair, there's a lot of other options here. So if you want to increase your FCR, let's say you're more interested in like farming Mephisto, you could use like a Meteor Ormus, like with sockets. If you get like multiple sockets and a Meteor Ormus, you can get the same amount of MF, you can get more FCR, and you get more damage from having 3 to Meteor, and percent fire damage. Meteor isn't as defensive though, doesn't have mana taken, gained as mana when hit, doesn't have physical damage reduction, doesn't have as much life, doesn't have as much strength, giving you life effectively by helping you wear Storm Shield, and doesn't have, you know, I mean, you could get this about the same MF if you run like Istrunes in it or something, but there's definitely some weaknesses. You could definitely use like a Meteor Ormus though, it's not a terrible idea, especially on softcore. You could use Chains of Honor if you're really hurting for res. Let's say you don't have like a crazy Storm Shield, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is way more defensive than Chains of Honor, so long as you can get a decent amount of res elsewhere. And finally, of course, it gives you Blink, which means that if you use the Blink instead of your Sorceress teleport, once again, you circumvent. If you want to immediately cast Meteor after teleporting, no damage penalty. Whereas I go here, also, Enigma Teleport has more smooth transitions into Meteor. Because, so you might notice that. So if you want to have more mobility and a bit more fun with it, there's definitely a reason to use Enigma. I think this armor is kind of underrated for a lot of uses. There's definitely some 5-hit uses for it like this. It's pretty nice. It's got a lot of defensive capabilities for Hardcore too, so it's really nice. Of course, you can use other stuff. You could also use Shaft Stop if you want DR elsewhere. Like, let's say you want to run, you can run like Shaft with 3 fire facets, and then you can run Gurks. You could run Atmas, which gives you more to your energy shield. You could run Viper Magi with different corruptions. You can run Tal's Armor, 3-piece Tals, 4-piece, 5-piece Tals. There's a lot of things you can really do here. But there's, I kind of wanted to showcase this on this build because it's actually kind of cool to use it on this build, so it's kind of neat. Blink is so OP, it is. Blink is a vanilla teleport for anyone that doesn't know what these blink charges are. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, I like it a lot. I actually think it's pretty nice, but there's definitely a lot of choices here, so don't feel like you're locked into Enigma. It just has a ton of MF. You could even use Scolders, to be honest. If you want to go down a skill, or you get like a +1 skill Scolders, you get more MF. And you get a little bit more defense. That's the other thing, is Enigma gives you a lot of defense, just like Storm Shield does. Tons of defense on these items, which is why I'm able to hit 10,000 defense on her. But you might notice that, like, you could use other stuff. You really can. You can use like F up Scolders, get 2,000 defense, even more defense. But then you don't have the DR, and then you don't have max life, and then you don't have the strength, or the fast run walk, or the blink. So there's definitely other things you can do. Hold arms. All right, well, pretty no-brainer. Of course, once again, like I said, you could use an energy shield staff called arms if you want to avoid putting a point into it. But remember, you're only going to be able to reapply your energy shield if you swap to your staff. That can be dangerous in hardcore. So you might notice that my res is trash now on my CTA swap. So if you use a staff, your res is definitely going to be trash. Keep that in mind. Definitely don't want to be swapping around sometimes in those maps. If you lose your energy shield at just the wrong moment, it can definitely be pretty dangerous to maybe use an energy shield staff. So maybe you won't want to play as aggressively if you use that approach. Ward Travelers. Ward Travelers, pretty generic magic find boots. Once again, you can just stack MF to the moon on this character, which is why we have all this MF everywhere. These 4 items particularly. And this one's just a 38 Ward Trap, nothing too crazy, but I self-corrupted it with Cannot Be Frozen, which is amazing. You're definitely going to need Cannot Be Frozen on a Sorceress. They are affected by it. All their cast speeds, everything is affected by it. It's definitely an easy way to get yourself killed without it, so make sure you have Cannot Be Frozen somewhere on the build. Doesn't have to be here, but boots are one of the best spots to have it, boots and rings. So yeah, because it doesn't take up the corruption slot. That is a better corruption slot for other gear. Alright, Mage Fist. Mage Fists, these are pretty weak Mage Fists, honestly. I need better Mage Fists. I really haven't bothered to get them yet, though, this ladder. I can afford all kinds of Mage Fists now, but I haven't even bothered. These are just self-corrupted at this point. You're definitely going to use Mage Fists on this build, so there's other options for other builds, but since we're a fire build, you're going to want that free +1 skill there, and the FCR on top of that, and the mana regen. The FCR is going to help, of course, with the teleporting, with the lightning FCR frame, and just, it's the only way you get a skill on a gloves. You could also use Frostburns, because Frostburns is negative fire res and % mana. If you're getting your FCR, enough FCR to where you're satisfied elsewhere for your teleport speed. Remember, you don't need FCR for Meteor, so technically, early on, Frostburns is actually a pretty good choice for this build, but that's pretty much the only thing I would do on this build besides Mage Fists. It's pretty nice, though. Stone of Jordan. Well, you get a skill. You get a ton of mana and life after each kill, in addition to mana after each kill. It's really nice when you're using Energy Shield. Just nice regeneration there. Get another plus skill here, MF. You could get MF on this corruption as well if you want. Stack all the MF you can, really. I mean, may as well. You just do so much damage. Especially for vanilla content when you don't get bonus MF in maps. But I'm hitting over 500 MF, almost 550 MF, or even over 550 MF in some maps. So it's pretty nuts. And definitely going to help you find some GG uniques on her. Just FCR, all skills, mana once again on a rack, really helping out all the stats on the Sorceress. Really good stuff. So there's a lot of plus skills, a lot of magic find, and a decent amount of FCR to hit teleport. That's pretty much the theme of the whole build. And of course, you know, a good shield for max block, a lot of res between our items as well, and just a lot of DR, 41 DR as well. So we're really trying to hit all the stats on hardcore for sure. On softcore, remember, you can be a bit more lax. You don't have to use Storm Shield. Matter of fact, you can use shields like Spirit Ward with +2 Sorceress skills. You can also use things like that as well on softcore. You can even use it on hardcore if you want, but it doesn't have DR. You can get like +3 skills on a Spirit Ward. You could use Lidless as well on softcore. There's definitely ways to get more plus skills on this build, but it has a lot, and as you can see, it has no shortage of damage, even without having like 50 level meteors, so it's pretty nuts. Or a shootist, for that matter, for the percent fire damage. So yeah, there's definitely some things you can do for sure, though. Alright, and then finally, charms. Pretty straightforward on charms on this character. Just Sorceress Torch, high vitality, which is nice. If you need the res, get more res. You don't, though. Nihilist Charm, more plus skills, 40 MF on Geeds, and just fire skillers. I have some really nice fire lifers on her. Some of them that were self-rolled, so she's got some nice stuff there. Very nice stuff. Yeah, I think this one was self-rolled by me, actually. 26 lifer. Good stuff. Lots of good charms. Just get as good of charms as you can get. You definitely don't need lifers necessarily, but remember, the less life and less defensive stats you have in general, the less aggressively you can play safely. Alright, and then res, MF, mana MF, for energy shield. Very nice to have mana MF. Get more MF. MF res, FHR mana, and then FHR res. We're just helping to shore up her fire res and her poison res. So, good stuff. Good stuff in general. That's how we hit our FHR breakpoint, by the way. Just these 3 small charms. That's it. That's the only way we get some FHR, even though, like I said, we don't really need it too much. It's mostly just a backup for if I lose my energy shield and everything else. Yeah, guys. That will be it. So, as a recap, you know, very powerful build, really fun build, very satisfying sound. Does a few maps insanely effectively, and the rest of the maps maybe not very effectively, but really, really strong at those maps. It's a solid A tier build. A tier being a strong, effective build. Strong but balanced, not necessarily overpowered. Highly recommended, even in the early game. You can destroy Mephisto and Andy even when you don't have a ton of gear. I tested it in the beta as well for that, so she is an awesome build for sure. And remember, of course, to check out in the channel description, in the video description, and in the comments, I'm going to pin a comment as well for ranking all her maps. But really, her top 3 is where it's at. I'm probably going to just put the top 3 and then put the rest on the bottom, because that's how much there's a difference between like the top 3 and the rest of the maps. But as you can see, very, very powerful build. Also check out our other PD2 guides. I think this might be guide number 7 now at this point for PD2 so far on Season 2 for hardcore/softcore options builds. I am Dark Humility. Check me out at www.twitch.tv/darkhumility. I usually stream here about 7 days a week. You can always check me out here. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like my build videos, including this one. If this inspires you to make the character, let me know. A lot of people let me know that they've made a build because of my guide in the exact same way. So I'm glad people are having a lot of fun on these builds. So let's keep it going, and till next time with more guides. Let's get it. Dark Humility, over and out.